Full disclosure, news and commentary, number 139. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Platinum, of course, and welcome to Full Disclosure. I'm going to get maximum use out of this damn tuxedo because I have to return it today. Not too shabby, not too shabby. I'm going to hopefully get out and record a couple of things, but I worked, like I said, I worked. That's no bullshit. I work 2 in the afternoon to 11 at night every day, probably until Christmas Day. So it's wild. It's wild stuff. But I'm getting it in, doing my thing. Full disclosure. What is our topic about tonight? I've decided to take down one person who I know that some of the boys at least listen to and follow and probably think highly of, but who is a completely dumb piece of fucking shit. So you can look forward to that in the commentary. Who is it going to be? We'll have to see. So news items. By the way, for people who have been sending stuff, and I'll just show you. 3 things in the mail as of late. Wild stuff. I guess, I'll open one. Yeah, I'll open one of them. Does that sound good? Why not? Yeah, this one looks as good as any. So let's open it up. But I'll talk about some news items. So nominations for the 2020 GWH Awards now being accepted. The point here isn't to try to win anything. It's to submit people who you think are worthy. You can submit up to 3 nominees for each one of the categories. This is an important part of the process, however, because before a committee looks at the nominees and whittles it down, if you don't nominate somebody, if a name does not come up, they have no chance of being included in the voting process. Let me say that again. If somebody's name does not come up, I don't care how worthy they are. If nobody bothers nominating them and dropping their name, then they cannot be up for consideration. That's important to know. So don't assume anything. Don't assume, well, everybody knows that Hankins is going to win manager, for example, so I don't need to put his name there. I'll talk about other people. Put his name if you think he deserves to be nominated, right? All right. So I will let you see it the same time I see it. Let me turn it back on the camera so I can see. 1, 2, 3. What the? No more Mr. Rice Guy. Wonders if clever shirt or if mildly racist towards me. Nah, I ain't mad about it. Definitely wearing this shirt, and I'm probably going to wear it to work right away. Can't change into it right now for obvious reasons, because dapper. All right. So what are the categories so I can get your mind working? By the way, those are cufflinks. And I did figure out how to do them myself. Super excited. Best overall wrestler, best technician, best male performer, best female performer. Ted Allen Legends Award. That's an important one. That's the one where you have to get 50% of the vote in order to get that award. Not an easy thing to do. We've had years where nobody's won it before for that very reason. Best tag team or stable. What's the definition of a stable? You fucking know. Ask dumb questions. Most improved wrestler, best manager or valet, best promoter, best booker, best promotion, best live event, best announcer, best commentator, best referee, best mentor, best feud and rivalry, best match, and best promo. I would also suggest that if you have a best match thought or thoughts, give us some links. Can't hurt. And same with best promo, if you can find a way. Or just to be descriptive as possible. Joe Black's promo at the such and such event, such and such promotion, for example. Cool. So Always exciting as we head into December. Again, we don't even do the voting until the year is officially done anymore, which is a change that was made last year, but I think a good one. As for other categories, let's talk about that. Might as well while we're talking. What about categories like Rookie of the Year? Because I'm of two minds, right? Oh, Steve, we can't just keep adding categories and keep adding categories. I can already see the argument from the committee members. Here's my thing. I think there should be a way to recognize in years where you have a number of great rookie candidates, and I think we do. I think between Rose Gold and Nathaniel, a lot of the Nightmare Factory kids, Carly Bravo, I think there's a number of people who should be up for Rookie of the Year. So, Steve, what do we do about that? I don't know, but just spitballing here. I think something that could possibly be done is this idea of, is there a category that could be replaced? And then maybe take out the category that we're feeling the least. And what would that entail? I don't know. For a long time, I had sort of advocated getting rid of Announcer of the Year because I just didn't think that there was like a viable field. And I think that, so let me make the distinction really quick. It's not Matt Hankins' fault that he's 500 times more active and better at the managing thing than other people are doing it. But there are, you could field up to 5 candidates very readily. I just think he happens to be way ahead of people in that field. However, a best female performer, dude, my standard is if you can't name 5 who could make an honest claim, I don't know if that category needs to exist. Now, this is how I would do it. I would say because there's so many good rookie candidates this year, I would make Rookie of the Year a category, and I would bounce out best female performer. That's how I would do it. I'm not saying that's what will be done. In fact, likely it won't be done that way, but that's how I would do it. Now, there might be other categories that people are wanting to talk about. I will say this, best overall wrestler, I can think of 4 off the top of my head. This is just off the top of my head without any kind of deep analysis. Best technician, I can think of 5. Best male performer, I can think of way more than 5. Best female performer, I can think of 1. And then I could make an argument for 2 or 3. That's not good. Ted Allen Legends, there's a few that I could name. Best tag team or stable, again, more than 5. Most improved wrestler, boy, that's one where I think you can make an argument for a lot of names, but I think there are 2 or 3 incredibly strong candidates for that. Best manager of valet, only 1, and then a bunch of people who should say it is an honor to be nominated. Steve, that's mean. It's the truth. Best promoter, you can make an argument for a few. Best booker, it's trickier. I think you can make an argument for 4 or 5 viably. Best promotion, that's up for grabs. Best live event, that's also up for grabs. Best announcer, I think you've got 3, but 3 strong ones. Best commentator, you have a few. Best referee, I'd say this year you have 4 strong contenders at least. Best mentor, my God, you can name any number of people. Best feud or rivalry. Just talking to Larry yesterday, I came up with 4 off the top of my head that I thought could be very viable. Best match, best promo, same thing. I think it's up for grabs. So get to work, get your nominations in. Sooner the better, right? Sooner the better. Platinum Championship Wrestling Report from Rob Rod. Cool. Cold building apparently. But they're advancing angles. They're advancing stories. No complaints there. Anarchy Wrestling. They seem to be moving right along. things are really good. One of the matches apparently pissed Larry off to no end. It was just not up to snuff. I'm sure they will address that. Viral Pro Wrestling title defended at WrestleCade. That's a great thing to get in front of, right? Anthony Henry, Sean Legacy, 1,200 fans. It's something that's really cool to happen. Though you got to hesitate on making too big of a deal about this kind of thing because, again, like, do great matches happen at, let's say, Dragon Con? Sure, but it's really that Dragon Con event that's doing it, yeah? But it's great to have a match on there, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. KLT Promotions, they're saying 350, big old match. Skrilla's won the title, and now we're getting a heat angle where Zach Mosley is definitely... I saw he put up a thing about how I think his neck is okay and all this stuff. It's great stuff. Skrilla and Zach Mosley definitely up for feud of the year, right? When you look at them, you look at Austin Jeter, you look at, my God, there's other feuds. Come on, Steve. Oh, Manders and Sexton, and you look at Tyler Culprit and Ace Haven. I mean, it's so wonderful that that's one of those new categories that has like a lot of viable contenders for it. Feels good. It's great stuff. Pro South Black Friday Cage Warfare report. Larry's got that up as well. Larry put up a nice list on gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com about things that he's thankful for. Really, really cool. Including giving shout outs to the people who contribute to the site. Really, really great. He talks about deathmatch wrestling, AEW, Joe Black, the remarkable variety of pro wrestling promotions. Really great stuff. And then the IWE report finally came out from Charles Felder, basically backing up everything that I had ever heard about the show and and how great it was, etc., etc. And the Wrestling for a Cause report, I'm glad Jordan McClure sent that in. Really, really cool. And AWE, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, with another hiatus. Man, it's rough. And, of course, a lot of this stems from Josh Wheeler's grandmother and her problems. And, of course, that's very sad. We wish the best for her and his family in general. But AWE basically not running another show this year, it's fucking incredibly disappointing. I just don't know how else to say this. And people might get mad at me for saying it, but I got to say it. Like, it's just fucking heartbreaking. Like, AWE just can't get traction. I will also say this, because a lot of guys who belong to various websites where they support sort of like African-American / black interests in wrestling and that kind of thing, then they always talk about support AWE because, like, I'm just going to say this again. PCW is clearly black owned and black booked, black run. And were one of the first to run during COVID under the safest of conditions possible, and have continued and continue to improve, and they continue to do their thing. I will say no more about it. Jeff G. Bailey chimed in with his report about the Pit 6 and No Holds Barred 20, about Tank's freaking triumph and Dan's triumph and how great everything is, and Cruel making it happen and taking shit over. It's fucking awesome. Makes me so happy, so proud. Great stuff. Great stuff. And now let's get into the commentary. So the Angry Wrestling Vet. Do you follow this fuck? He's one of the guys that people love to say, like, oh, I think he gives really great advice. And he's another guy who says, and there's a few people who qualify as this. So let me make this ridiculously large blanket statement. There are guys who make these absolutist statements and these bold proclamations that don't hold up under any kind of scrutiny. And usually when I call this stuff out, the first thing I'll do is get private messages from people who I sort of rip apart. And then they say, well, I didn't mean exactly. Well, then you failed in communication. You can't be the guy that takes an incredibly hard, like, no wiggle stance and then back up once people start calling you out for your fucking stance if you're not willing to publicly clarify or nuance your statement. Does that make sense? So what did this dumb fuck say? He said, a lot of comments on this. A lot of people disagreeing with him, but not always disagreeing for the in the correct way. And like, Steve, what are you saying? I'm saying that people often approach things in a way that doesn't All right. Let me look at this fuck. Angry wrestling vet who, again, it's the constant him putting up his fucking quote unquote qualifications and all that stuff, right? Angry wrestling vet. Stop wrestling over 40. Wah, shut up. You know I'm right. You fucking grown ass men cosplaying. From a guy who's calling himself the angry wrestling vet. Be responsible for your families and futures. Join Planet Fitness or something and stop taking the next generation spots. Guys that don't know how to use an apostrophe and a possessive, it's a small thing, but this is what needs to be said about 90% of the indie performers still trying to make it who are over 40. Sorry, pal, you're wrong form. Not going to make it, brother. Stop trying to get your last nut off and trying to relive or just live some lost childhood fantasy. That's probably why most of you got into wrestling in the first place, right? Your midlife crisis isn't the future of the industry's problem. That's a possessive, you dumb fuck. Look in the mirror and accept personal responsibility. This is a young man's game. I do agree with that. Over 30 is rough. Over 40 is holding on to something that wasn't meant to be and selfishly taking the spot of someone who potentially can make it. Get as angry as you like. Huff and puff about whatever you feel is unfair. Huff and puff about the old guys that held you back and then realized you have become them. Note this isn't directed at the small 10% of 40 plus pros who are still touring the indies and passing generational knowledge to the youth. This is directed at the straggler, the dingleberries. Every company has a few. With all this said, there's a place and purpose for you still in the industry. Manager or commentator. I'm not going to go into this detail of how you can be useful. Bookers, creative, production. I know there's a lot are going to bitch and complain about this post. I know it's all going to come from people who can't take a serious look in the mirror. Don't tell me when to hang it up. I'm not. I'm recommending it before you ruin your legacy and reputation, any reputation you have built. The youth will begin to resent you for taking their opportunities. Most youth have a much higher statistically likelihood of getting signed than your grumpy, jaded ass. Let them eat cake. So says I, the angry wrestling vet, putting youth ahead of himself since his 30s. Now check your ego at 40. Let crybaby commentary begin. Wah. So anytime somebody disagrees with him, he always feels the need to respond right away, which is telling, right? But it's his credibility flexing that he endlessly does. And I see this a lot too with people who make these sort of bold, grandiose statements. And then they always want to flex like knowledge, right? Because I did this and I did that. His thing is like, I ran a training school, the Wild Samoan training school, the most prestigious school, la, 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 starting at 18 for 10 years. So he ran a wrestling school starting at age 18. Is anybody buying that shit? And if you are buying it, does that sound like a good idea to anybody? A single solitary person? Of course not. Right? And then you can go, well, look at his track record. Like, okay, sure. Let's look at his track record. Was he in charge at that school? No. He's just fucking stretching the truth, right? And then he stopped wrestling at 28. People were taking shots at that. Like, you can't be a wrestling vet at 28. If he was legitimately doing it full time for 10 years, sure. Was he? Probably not, but that's another question. And then he's flexing. It was like, I got all this Hollywood cred and all these wrestling people trying to get in through Hollywood through me. 1, no, they're not. 2, it wouldn't work anyway. 3, you don't have that kind of pull. 4, he keeps talking about the same thing again and again and again. He doesn't list a bunch of credits. He just basically says, oh, it's Jonah Hill's second for Wolf of Wall Street. So good. You were a body double for fucking fat-ass Jonah Hill on Wolf of Wall Street. And this thing that's coming out. Wolf of Wall Street. Let's look in real time. When was that? Since that's the only thing he ever fucking talks about. And I'm just going to take him as his word that he really did all that. Okay? Wolf of Wall Street, 2013. That's 8 years ago. So 1 gig of note in 8 years. With another happening. Okay. I'm going to just say this. Most wrestling people, historically, and even in the modern day, didn't get to reach that juncture of the crossroads of, I can still physically go, but I really get this shit until they're 35. Let me say that again. Wrestling people, it has been shown from the big leagues to the indies that guys don't really hit their fucking stride. And there are exceptions to this, but where you're still physically able to do shit, crossing with the fucking knowledge to really get the most out of what you're doing and to fucking really get the most out of matches and really show people what's going on until they're 35, usually 38. Do I need to show you the guys that are working up top in the WWE and how old they are? Do I need to show you the guys who are doing the best shit in AEW and how old they are? Any kind of absolute rule about age is fucking bullshit. And I'm not saying that as some self-serving thing so I can step back in the ring tomorrow. I stopped fucking wrestling. I had my last match, my God, years ago, right? And I stuck to it. And bully for me. But fuck. I'm going to look at some shit. Menorah Suzuki was born June 17th, 1968. So he's 4 years older than me. So he's 53. And he just did a run in the United States, 17 matches. Is it the most successful short run for a Japanese wrestler ever in the United States? Probably. Where he was featured prominently, wrestled great matches, held in great reverence, put the right guys over, and made everything bigger by his mere presence, much less the fact that he was able to deliver. His nickname is the coolest current nickname in wrestling, the Murder Grandpa. This notion that fake fighting in your underwear has to happen. I do agree with the general premise of wrestling as a young person's thing. Sure. But like anything else, a wrestling card is structured. And if we haven't seen what it looks like when you just push new guys just to push them, NXT 2.0, and what a fucking mishmash that makes out of a thing. And even the mishmash that is NXT 2.0, the only reason whatever works is because of the veteran guys who are able to carry the young guys. True or not true? Right? When you look at Tommaso Ciampa and the great work can you imagine where that show would be without Tommaso fucking Ciampa? Right? Late 30s. Bryan Danielson. I mean, I think I'm making my point, right? Bryan Danielson, there's that 40 years old. And not just wrestling at the highest level. With slightly younger guys who are also wrestling at the highest level. Like I said, 35 is when this shit tends to get figured out the best. And that's from people who have been doing it throughout their 20s and 30s. And we're talking about indie wrestling. This notion that, are you telling me Tank should not be doing his shit right now? You're fucking crazy. Guy's 50. And he's having the best fucking time of his life. Wrestling in death matches. P.S. Working with the best in that field. There's a gravitas to Tank when he showed up in Chattanooga that cannot be matched by a 25-year-old. This is a performance-based business with physicality involved. You can go for a much longer time. Much longer time. And should. In the angry wrestling vets world, we would not have gotten Hogan and The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Insanity. We sure wouldn't have gotten Ric Flair against Shawn Michaels. Insanity. And when you look at the guys now, like Terry Lawler, who cannot stay retired, but I don't begrudge him because he's joyful with it. You guys got to start fucking disseminating some information and quit listening to all the loudest fucking voice in the room. But Steve, yeah. But anybody who's been in a lengthy conversation with me, gotten advice from me, really broken things down with me, will tell you, fuck, Steve tells you, he can not only tell you the thing, he can tell you why and back it up. And the fact is, angry wrestling vet don't know shit about shit. And what he puts up as credentials, that ain't shit either. And if you listen to him and you take everything he says to heart without being able to filter it at all, here's my ultimate point. You ain't shit. This has been Full Disclosure.